Hello, welcome to the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. I am your host, Roy Kessel, and today we are very excited to have with us David Cohn from the First Tee of Southeastern Wisconsin. David, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you with us and tell us a little bit about golf, even though as we're recording this, it's a rainy day for both of us, for Chicago and Wisconsin. But I know the golf season is now upon us and everyone's itching to get back on the course. But before we dive into the golf related projects and work that you're doing, give us a little bit about your background and what drew you to end up at the First Tee.
Yeah, and definitely sunny days ahead, right? I had grown up. I've always had an interest in working in sports in the sports industry. High school, I had an internship with the Milwaukee Bucks in their ticket sales office. College, spent a few years interning for the athletic department at the University of Wisconsin. Did 2 summers as an intern with the Wisconsin PGA in their junior tour. And so, when I was looking to graduate, looked at a couple of different options and ended up with a great opportunity with the Wisconsin State Golf Association to do as their assistant director of rules and competitions, a tournament role, and got into that upon graduation. Spent 9 years with the State Golf Association, ended up in a few different roles. Member services, communications, and then while I was doing that, I had a number of opportunities to get involved in some local nonprofits in the Milwaukee community. I've been fortunate to serve on a couple of nonprofit boards, see the board side, the volunteer side of the nonprofit world, and when there was an opportunity when there was an opportunity with the First Tee, thought it was a good chance to kind of combine those personal and professional interests, continue to work in golf, be a part of the amazing golf community that we have here in Wisconsin, and do it through a philanthropic lens and try to connect people's passions for the game with an opportunity to give back, affect the future generations of golf, and use golf as a vehicle to affect the future generations overall. So that's kind of the path of how I got here. I really feel fortunate and blessed to be in the position to serve our community through a game I'm passionate about, and so many others are passionate about too.
I think it's great when you talk about that, because you really went through a number of different roles, and it sounds like from what you were doing in sports before you got to the First Tee, as you're working in ticket sales, that's usually one of the best entry points for a lot of people into the sports business world. Tell us how that went for you.
Yeah, so I wasn't actually doing a whole lot of outbound ticket selling. It was more of the behind the scenes alphabetizing paperwork and doing a few different little projects here and there. But to be behind the scenes at a time when the Bucks were a little bit of a smaller organization, a smaller ticket sales operation, really got to see a lot of different areas of the organization, the operation, and I think when you spend time around sports teams, around leagues, around organizations behind the scenes, you really see what it takes to put on what fans see and what people see from the other side. And there's just something unique and special about being a part of that experience that thousands of people interface with, whether in person or on TV or from afar. That it's a business, first and foremost, but it really has such a major impact on people in society, and to be a part of it and to kind of play that small role was really cool to see. And while that internship, getting connected with some of those people, really solidified that was what I wanted to do as a career.
Yeah, it's interesting when you raise the fact of what you see from behind the scenes compared to what the fans see when they walk in. And I think so many of us have grown up going to an array of sporting events of all different natures, and yet very few people have been involved in really producing an event or producing events of that scale. And it all looks easy when you walk into the stadium. The ticket takers are there, the concessions are open, all of the operations are set up, but the amount of time and effort goes into it. And being a golf guy, you probably understand that as well from running events, even putting together just relatively small scale golf events. A 1-day golf event that's got 144 golfers in a full shotgun type of start, and all of the moving pieces that go into that. It's interesting when you look at the array of issues that go on, and people take for granted how many moving parts there are. So
Yeah.
as you progress then from the Bucks, you had that experience. Tell us a little bit more about the work you did at Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I was a marketing and promotions intern. So I had a few different sport responsibilities. Everything from giveaways to on court, on ice, on field, sponsorship activation and promotion. Things like the kids club. It was just I got to see a lot of the marketing and promotional operations of the athletic department. It was a great experience. Spent 2 full school years doing that, and really made some good connections, some good friends. A lot of people I'm still friends with today through that. And it was being at UW and knowing how big of a part of the university athletics is, and how much the athletic department and the athletic programs mean to the state. Your point of, hey, there's 80,000 people at a football game. Taking that in, that doesn't account for how many people are just showing up to tailgate or watching on TV at home. And so I think it was an eye-opening experience to get to see what college athletics look like, and knowing that I got to see a big school perspective or a big athletics department or university perspective. And it's just, there's so many schools out there doing similar things, all at different scales, and was really kind of helpful to learn through that.
Yeah, the scale is amazing. And when you look at colleges in particular, right, it's a little bit different. So you work at the Bucks, and they obviously have an 80-game schedule. You've got half of those at home, and you can concentrate on those events. When you look at a college athletic department, they're producing not only the big events like the football games and basketball and hockey, but there's so many other smaller scale events that are running in the background, even though they're not going to get the same attention, whether it's volleyball, softball, soccer, track and field, all kinds of other competitions that are going on. There's really virtually never a downtime, other than probably those few months in the summer where you're really just prepping to get set for that next fall season.
Yeah. And you get to see a little bit more of the the student athlete experience. Working, obviously being an intern, I wasn't interacting with the Bucks players at the time, but there's a little bit. It seems like in professional sports, there's a little bit more of a disconnect between the players and the athletes. And as an intern at UW, you got to see more up close what that student athlete experience was like. And you talk about, there are the football players that are on, that are on TV, or the basketball players that are on TV, but you also have those soccer players, those volleyball players, those wrestlers, and just how big of a part of their college experience it is, and how many people still support those sports and those athletes too. And so it was pretty eye-opening and pretty cool to see.
And the people that haven't been around the athletic departments often question how hard or how much time the athletes put in. And one of the issues, obviously, that comes up, as it has recently with the NCAA and the name, image, likeness types of conversations, and what the players should and shouldn't be allowed to do, getting outside compensation. I think that the average fan would be surprised at how many hours these players are putting in around that sports complex, between meetings, meals, study sessions, weightlifting, conditioning, nutrition, rehab, everything that goes into running a sports organization. It's really a huge commitment, and it's not, I think it's way above what the average person would expect. So you had that experience for a few years, and you're looking at finishing the college sports world there, and then you got an opportunity with the Wisconsin PGA. So what did you focus on in that role?
Yeah, so it was an intern. I did 2 summers as an intern with them. Really focused on their junior tour, which is operated through their foundation. At the time, I think they were running about 60 junior tournaments throughout the state, different levels from beginners playing par 3 courses, all the way up to kind of a premier series for the best girls and boys junior players in the state. So traveling around, getting to a golf course early in the morning, getting everybody started, wrapping up with scoring and awards and kind of just rinse and repeat all summer. It was a really cool experience, especially, you see when we're talking about, the impact that sports makes on people. We were seeing kids multiple times, 5, 10, 15, 20 times during the summer. And this, that was their life, during the summer, and to do it for 2 years, to see kids coming back, year after year, and then ending up with the Golf Association after that, you really got to see how these opportunities to play junior sport, youth sports, really made a difference to people. You had kids that were playing together that from different parts of the state become best friends because of the opportunities provided through the Wisconsin PGA and their junior tour. It was amazing to see the community, the friendships and the people relationships that they got through the sport. It was pretty great to see.
I think that's one of the things that's great about the sport of golf is that you can be out there and have those friendships, still maintain that competitive instinct and balance of what you need to do. But it's different than most other sports. I describe most other sports as kind of hand-to-hand combat. I win, you lose, right? By definition.
Yeah.
And certainly in golf, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. But you could play really well. I could play really well. Okay, one of us is going to win. But at the end of the day, if you look at how you played, you can be satisfied with the way you hit the ball or what you did. And on the flip side, we could both play really poorly and somebody's going to win, but that person's still not going to be happy walking away, just even in casual matches, right? With how poorly you played. It's like, yeah, I beat you, but I still shot a crappy score.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's great in teaching kids that ability to interact. I think even more in today's world, when you look at how much screen time there is and how much video game competition and esports and everything, I think some of the elements in the game of golf are really important to develop that skill set in terms of etiquette and communication and respect in ways that certain other sports don't necessarily foster as much.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, the fact that these kids were coming from, all over the state in different competitions and getting paired in foursomes with 3 people they probably haven't met before. The more they play, the more they get to know each other, if they're playing a lot. But you're out on the golf course for 4.5, 5 hours with a couple people you've never met before, and that's a little bit different than a basketball game, a baseball game, a soccer game, where you're really not interacting as much with your fellow competitors.
And you've got your team, right? So you're really interacting with your team that and support you and care about you. But when you're on the golf course, you're out there alone.
Yeah, and it's really a representative of who you are too. It's people talk about the business world being a really good opportunity to get to know somebody on the golf course. You really see who somebody is when they're playing around a golf, and it's really no different than when kids are playing together. And the first team, we can get into some of it, we really focus on our core values, and it's things like honesty, sportsmanship, respect, responsibility, these things that play out on the golf course that all of these kids are really kind of practicing on the course, and then preparing themselves for using those skills later in life too.
So then you jumped over to the State Golf Association, and I know you said you were there for 9 years. So take us
Yeah.
through some of the roles and some of the work that you did in that position.
Yeah. So started out as in kind of an assistant tournament director role, responsible for assisting with a number of our competitions. We rolled out a league program early on, and just kind of assisted with all of our tournaments and championships, everything from net events to the state amateur. And so when you think about the State Golf Association, really providing opportunities for every type of golfer to play and play competitively during the year. So did that for about 2 years. And then at that point, we were rolling out a new handicap system software. So the software that provides the USGA handicap and handicap index and calculation to the individual member golfers and the golf courses and clubs. So we were rolling out a new software and bringing the customer support in-house. So took on a role as the director of member services through that. And then a few years later, added in communications. So website, social media. We ended up bringing in-house magazine, Wisconsin Golfer Magazine, that was transitioned from a print publication to a digital publication. So a few different areas of the organization, really kind of understanding how the State Golf Association best serves the Wisconsin golf community and provides and kind of stewards the game of golf now and into the future.
And that opportunity for you to have that role in member services as well as the communications role really gives you some great breadth and probably set the stage for having you be in a position to get this opportunity with the first tee. So give us a little bit of a sense of how that transition came about and what as you stepped into that role, what did you see as the opportunity for yourself and for First Tee?
Yeah, and a tagline that the Golf Association has used is Wisconsin's largest golf community. And it's made up of our golf courses, our golf clubs, our golfers, and I'll put Wisconsin's golf community up against any other community across the country. I think Wisconsin people are so passionate about the game and so passionate about the experiences and just what the game means, that it's been so rewarding to be a part of it. And so there was a position open with the First Tee, and just the chance to lead a nonprofit organization, really giving back to the game, really got me excited about the future and what we can do through our First Tee chapter. So just it was a really good fit, and I think we're making a lot of progress in terms of how we're growing the organization and how we're reaching out to the greater golf community and making sure we're providing more opportunities for our kids through the game and being able to share those life skills and values that we talk about with more kids in our community.
So when you jumped into the First Tee, give us a sense of the geographic scope for the area that you cover and how many kids as you got involved at the beginning, how many kids were involved in the program?
Yeah, so we were in a little bit of a transition. We had been a First Tee chapter that was just really focused on Milwaukee County. So we had in 2015 expanded to the First Tee of Southeast Wisconsin, added in 8 more counties. So now we stretch from Fond du Lac County from the north all the way down to Racine and Kenosha. We go west to Waukesha and Jefferson. We also have Washington, Ozaukee, Walworth County as well. And so really had an opportunity to kind of expand our reach. It's still a work in progress as we try to reach a number of new communities. So we were kind of in a little bit of a restart mode as a chapter, and knowing that we have a huge opportunity to reach kids in every part of that 9-county area. So we've been growing our numbers, increasing the number of school partnerships we have, and I think we're really poised for some some big growth over the next few years.
When you get ready to launch a new chapter or in one of those counties, what type of support or what needs do you have in that county? What does it look like in terms of how many courses you work with or how many kids you try to serve in that area?
Yeah, the ideal partnerships really kind of fit or include a few different pieces. One is the facility. We're looking at what type of golf facility do we have access to, whether that be a par 3 course, a driving range, a full regulation golf course. Is it municipally owned? Is it privately owned? Individually owned? Just we have to have the space to be able to execute the programming. We have to have a relationship with who's ever leading that program. So in some cases, we lead our own programs at Noyes Park in Milwaukee County, at Lake Park in Milwaukee County. We're operating those programs ourselves. But we also look to other people and other organizations to be affiliate partners or just partners leading first tee programming as part of their junior golf program. And so we have a number of program partners like that. And then it's figuring out, where the kids are coming from and, are they part of an individual of a separate program, a separate organization, a boys and girls club, parks and rec department, and then really just kind of fitting all those pieces together, getting coaches trained in the first tee curriculum, the first tee concepts, and then being able to execute that program in that area.
So you talked about the first tee curriculum and program. As a national organization, how many first tee chapters are out there, and then what type of curriculum development, or I guess I should say training, did you have to go through when you stepped into that role?
Yeah. So there's about 140 chapters across the country. Each chapter is independently operated. So we have our own 501c3 here. We have a licensing agreement with the first tee nationally to be able to deliver the program in our geography. They develop the curriculum, the training, kind of everything we use to deliver the program. And they provide specific coach training for those that are on the front lines of delivering that. So a number of different levels to that coach training program. There have been a few changes in the last few years to make it even easier to be able to train coaches and get people up to speed and being able to deliver the program here. We try to get coaches kind of into that path, get them certified to be able to teach the first few levels of the first tee program. Then they can go on to the next level of training, which gets them certified to be able to teach the next level, and so on. So, the first tee is a strong partner in allowing us to deliver what we want to deliver here.
So as you talk about the coaching certifications, how many different levels of those certifications are there as somebody progresses up that ladder?
Yeah. So, there are 3 different levels, and then somebody can become a certified trainer right now, currently. So we have a local, can conduct local training to certify somebody as a player level coach. And then they would travel typically regionally to get certified as a par and birdie level coach. And then there's a next level for Eagle and Ace. And then they could get trained to be a trainer to deliver that first level of training. So, we have a number of coaches at different levels, and it just kind of depends on how long they've been with us and what type of program they're looking to deliver.
So as those trainers are going through that process and working with you, that sounds like a significant investment of time for them in terms of what they have to do and how they approach participating in the Southeast Wisconsin region. How many coaches do you have then that fit in those categories?
Yeah, we have about 10 coaches that are active, that are in one level of the program or another. We were on pace to train a few more formally this spring, and with everything going on, it became a little bit more challenging. So we're still working on onboarding them and getting them into and trained as best as possible, and looking forward to a chance when we can train even more and do that as efficiently as possible.
So you can't stick them downstairs in a simulator somewhere and let them swing while you're watching them on Zoom and
No,
go
I
through
mean,
the whole process.
yeah, in a perfect world, you want to get them out on the golf course and interacting with other people and doing it in a hands-on manner.
Yeah, it's this whole COVID crisis has certainly created a lot of drama for everybody. I know in the golf world, as we're recording this, states are starting to reopen golf courses subject to a lot of restrictions. It's going to be interesting to see what impact that has on, frankly, on the viability of some of the courses. As we're recording this in Illinois, they're only allowing twosomes 15 minutes apart, which means you're putting out 8 golfers an hour. So I think I read somewhere the average course was like 125 acres. And so you're talking about having over an acre a person for, while you're on the course, if you're
Yeah,
out there, which is a little more space than you get at Costco.
yeah.
Um, and how do you see things playing out from the golf perspective with this crisis? On a professional level, there's enough money to pay for the cleaning and sanitation and protective services and testing and everything else that needs to go into it. But certainly
Mhm,
on a junior level, even as you were describing the competitions that you ran around the state,
mhm.
and then for a program like the First Tee, where you may be providing the equipment as well as the coaching and training and everything else.
Yeah, I think we're still trying to learn as much as we can about um, best practices, requirements, guidelines to ensure that we're providing the safest program we can possibly provide for our kids and our families. Where in some situations, when you look at junior golf competitions, like we talked about earlier, for the most part, they can be done and conducted very similar to the way people are playing golf recreationally. Now we're putting out 4 players in a group, spacing people out, knowing that there's some different situations regarding what you can touch and the flag sticks and ricks and bunkers and stuff like that. But I think that competitions like that will be able to proceed. And I think we're still kind of figuring out a few organizations are still figuring out a few things in terms of how they can get there. We have a little bit more to think about when we look at our summer programming and how we're going to operate with kids around. Trying to figure out how we best maintain space and social distancing and cleaning of equipment. And I think we're looking to other chapters. That's a benefit of having 140 chapters in the First Tee network. People are thinking about this all the time, and we have resources we can look to for some guidance and just ensuring that we're doing what's best for our program, our kids, our families, and the community, and just trying to do everything as safely and as efficiently as possible.
So during this time where people can't be or haven't been able to be out on the course in the same way,
Yeah.
what are you doing to keep the kids engaged and involved with First Tee?
Yeah. So it's been it's been challenging, and it's been a process to figure out what we can do to provide for those kids and those families through this time. Our biggest impact to programming so far has been our school programs. Typically, this is a time of year when a lot of those schools are doing their golf unit, and with them not in class physically, makes it tough for them to do, especially when they have a lot of students that haven't experienced the game or don't have equipment and things like that. So we have launched a First Tee at Home page on our website, a resource page on our website, different activities, videos, things for kids to do while at home, ranges from coloring pages all the way to like fitness plans and activities, ways to set up a extreme putt course at home, and asking kids and parents to take pictures, tag us, and show us what they're doing. And so it's been good and well received. We're really looking forward to a chance when we can get back out on the golf course physically with our participants, because I think that we're really optimistic that we really understand that kids are ready to get out of the house, or going to be ready to get out of the house. And as long as we can provide programs that are safe, and really focus on doing that, I'm hopeful we'll see a lot of interest in what we do, and making sure that kids are active, being physically active, and getting outside this summer.
Now, when we were talking earlier, you started to mention some of the principal tenets of First Tee in terms of what you're teaching the kids in terms of
Yeah.
life skills and in terms of things like that. Why don't you take us through that in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, well, our mission is to impact the lives of young people by providing programs that build character and life enhancing values through the game of golf. So it's really that golf is this context to be able to teach kids all the things you learn from being around it. We happen to call them our 9 core values, our 9 healthy habits. They're things like honesty, respect, responsibility, courtesy, judgment. That the First Tee is baked into that curriculum. We are talking about those words every day in every program. But it's just the reason they're there is because they're just kind of a part of what golf is. And we can use golf in the game to teach that to more kids. We're going to build better young people, better humans in our community. And that's really our passion and what we're focused on.
So as you mentioned, those 9 values, give us pick one of them and talk a little bit more detail about how you actually train that, right? We see a lot of groups that, as I say, will give lip service. They'll create a great poster about here. These are the values that you need to have, or these are the traits that you need to demonstrate to be part of our team. But when you dig into it, what you really see is like the only way the kids are going to get that is reading the poster, right? There's not really a lot of depth. I know the First Tee has, as you said, a full curriculum and process. So talk a little bit about what that training program looks like and where you would instill those traits and values.
Yeah. So all the kids in our programs get what's called a yardage book. So they have a physical activity book that walks them through a lot of these key ideas. The yardage books are talked about in the class sessions. They're sent home with the kids so that they can work on things at home when they're not on the golf course. And then our coaches are reiterating and focusing on those terms throughout the program as well. So, and it's not just in our golf course programs, it's in our elementary school programs as well. So whether it's kids coming to class or kids coming to an encore session, and that coach is saying, hey, our core value of the day is going to be perseverance. And, how do you think you show perseverance on the golf course? And then they're talking about perseverance as they play and they practice, as kids are hitting shots, struggling a bit and trying to work towards, that perfect hit, that perfect shot. That word is reinforced. And then at the end of the class or at the end of the session, it's being talked about again and talked about, that transition to the rest of their life. How are you going to take that perseverance and show it at home or show it in your classroom, depending on the setting. So it's being talked about, throughout the program and really being reinforced and put at the forefront.
And again, I think that's one of the great things about golf is, as you said, you can take those values and many others and really apply so many lessons from life to the game of golf, right? You go out on the course, and one of the things that it's always entertaining to me is people will complain heavily, let's say, about a bad bounce that they got, right? That wasn't fair. Well, we all know life isn't always fair. And meanwhile, over the course of the other 17 and a half holes, are forgetting those other few bounces that they did get that went in their favor, right? They only remember that one bad hop where, their ball just missed a green, hit a cart path and went out of bounds. That's not fun, but they forget the ones that hit the tree that kept it out of the water and things like that. It's always interesting to see when you talk about that perseverance in particular, because I know just from playing golf for many years with all kinds of people at all kinds of levels, and it's interesting to see you have the types that start off slow and really are poor, and then grind and pull their game together. Get the other ones that are doing well, and then all of a sudden snap hook a tee shot on 10 and they fall apart on the back nine. And you get the ones that swear off the game of golf by the fifth hole and they're never ever going to touch a club again.
Yeah.
um,
Well, I think that, some of my favorite stories come from when we're around kids that have never played before. We're going into an elementary school and helping out, and you get a kid who's never picked up a club before, and the equipment that we work with in the elementary school setting is plastic head clubs, tennis balls, Velcro targets, and so it's easier for them to pick up for the first time. But you see these kids just get locked into to trying to achieve success, and you put that tennis ball on the tee and you tell them to hit it, and there are kids that just grind into trying to do it. And that is the type of stuff that persistence translates to others of their life. Does that kid become is that kid on a trajectory to become a college golfer or a pro golfer someday? Probably not. But if we can encourage that type of mindset, that type of behavior through putting a golf club in their hands, that I think is success to us.
and I think those are the great stories, because very few people are ever going to reach that elite level.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you talk about it, and I think too many people around youth sports focus on whether it's the travel sports or anything else. Like, I want to get my kid to that level where they can get there and they can get a college scholarship. They can go play professionally. You mentioned the population in the state of Wisconsin and how ardent the golf community is, and people will go out there in all kinds of weather and play, even though I think most of us would say the real core of the golf season is about 5, maybe 6 months, right? You certainly get plenty of people that as soon as there's no snow on the ground, they're going to be on the course and they're going to keep playing until there is snow on the ground and the course is closed. And um, that's really what it's about, is having that activity way to keep that active lifestyle. Because especially if you're not taking carts, and typically the kids are not going to be taking carts, right? They're going to be walking and carrying bags, and it's great exercise. You go out there, that's a lot of steps. One of the big problems in the country right now is how such a small percentage of people have really gotten the amount of exercise and activity that they need over the course of a week. And so if you go and play a round of golf, even 9 holes of golf, right, you're getting a couple hours of activity. And it may not be, let's say, cardio level activity, but for the kids, it's probably much more active for them to get out of that sedentary lifestyle, away from the screens, and be outside walking. So even for 9 holes, 2 hours, it makes a world of difference. And I think it gives you that whole different perspective you were talking about.
For sure. Yeah. I think that we're also looking at, how many kids can we get to a golf course and wouldn't otherwise be able to see, what that golf course or that park is. And, giving that new experience, that's something they might want to keep coming back to, is a big part of what we try to do.
So when you talk about that, give us a sense of I'm going to use the term recruiting, which probably isn't technically accurate, but how you bring kids to the program, how they find out about it and participate.
Yeah, a lot of our existing participants come from, an interest in picking up golf. Usually it's the parents that are deciding they want their kid to get a junior golf experience. So we get a lot of participants, a lot of registrations for that. We also try to get our school partners to help us transition some of those kids that they have in the school setting to our on-course locations. We also have partnerships with different organizations, youth serving organizations in the community. Really good partnership with Neighborhood House in Milwaukee, which is bringing over 60 kids each of the last few summers to one of our golf course programs. Boys and Girls Club in Fond du Lac brings over a number of their kids to the program as well. So really trying to figure out, where kids are, how we can help kids spend time safely and through a golf focus during the summer, whether that's because their parents want them to, or because that they're in a setting where golf can be an additional activity that they can do. And so, we're really focused on providing accessibility. We actually just made a decision to eliminate registration fees for a number of our programs at our Noise Park location. So really, we do not turn away a participant because of financial need. So whether that's somebody signing up for the first time for a program that's now free for the summer, or any other program that somebody wants to join, and we have financial aid available, just making sure that everything we do is accessible for all kids in our community.
So you talk about not turning them away for financial need. So where do you get the funding from? How is First Tee supported to be able to provide all of these programs?
Yeah, we're really donor funded, being individual donors, local organizations, companies, foundations. Almost all of what we do is supported philanthropically. And so, like most nonprofit organizations, we just happen to have a golf outing. That's a big part of what we do. Our golf outing is July 13th. We do it as a pro-am format. We also have an auction that's a component as well. We do in the fall and September a 100-hole marathon. We call it 100 holes of golf. We ask players to commit to playing 100 holes in one day. To support our mission and the kids that we serve, so they then go out to their friends and their network and raise and ask them to support their participation in it. And then we have a number of committed donors who believe in the power of sport, the power of golf, and those core values and those healthy habits to make that positive impact on the lives of the kids that we work with.
Well, that's fantastic. I commend you on the great work that you're doing and the continued success. Hopefully the July 13th golf outing will be able to occur under the current conditions. And where's that scheduled for?
And we are still planning towards that. Might look a little bit different than it would typically look, but I think we're optimistic that we can play golf and can play golf safely that day. So we're scheduled to be at the Legend of Bristlecone out in Heartland. Beautiful private golf club. So if anybody's interested in getting involved, we'd love to have a few more teams participating this year, and more information is available on our website.
Terrific. So before we let you go here, I want to throw out a couple questions at you.
Sure.
So the first one is, we're going to use our sports philanthropy superpowers and pop you up as the commissioner of one of the sports. So what sport would you like to be commissioner of?
You should guess.
Well, I would guess golf, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I think so. If I'm gonna get that superpower, we might as well use it for that. I'd say golf. And was there was a second part to the question?
Yeah. What's one change you'd like to see in that position?
Yeah, I think there's a real opportunity to highlight the amateur game, and whether that's high level amateurs, the championships that the USGA puts on, college golf, even local amateur golf. I mean, there's so much great golf being played, and not even at the high level competitive sense. But amateur golf is what's happening at your local golf course, in different clubs and different outings and stuff like that. There's just so much being done through amateur golf, that I think if I was commissioner and could put a real focus on that, I think that would be fun to see.
Well, David, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
It was great to learn more about the First Tee program in Southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for all you're doing to enhance the role of sports and what sport does for our society.
This is Roy Kessel signing off for the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. Thank you.